I'm Brian Sauls, and this is my presentation on professional learning communities. This is, I'm going to describe how I'm going to implement professional learning communities in our school. I work at Albertville Middle School in Albertville, Alabama. We are a 7th and 8th grade middle school, so it's kind of tailored it more to my school, so I'm going to have more information about that. Why would our school would want to implement a professional learning community? Research shows that the student achievement increases dramatically with the development of professional learning communities. Test scores go up, everything kind of goes up and looks better. It also builds a sense of community and collaboration in our school, since our teachers will be working so closely together. They won't feel like they're on an island where they go into their classrooms and they never know what anybody's doing in their other classrooms. It makes life easier for the teachers. It actually makes less work, because as you collaborate, I mean, you get more ideas, you get more information from some of the other teachers. So putting all those teachers together, you have more stuff. So it makes life a little bit easier. Some other reasons: it makes student learning the #1 goal, and also it makes teacher learning, so teachers can improve professional development. So student learning is definitely the #1 goal. That's at the forefront of the school, so that's the #1 reason why you want to implement a professional learning community. It's been shown, of course, it increases standardized test scores, and for our school that would be like ARM scores, Alabama Science Assessment scores, those kind of things. And it makes professional development more meaningful. A lot of times professional development, you'll go hear a great speaker and you'll be all enthused and excited, but you won't really take any information away that you can actually use in your classroom. The enthusiasm kind of fades away after a while, and you didn't really learn anything new that's going to help you. What are professional learning communities? Well, it's kind of hard to describe it or define it. There's a lot of different definitions for it. I try to put some together, some of the most important aspects of a professional learning community. A simple answer is that the entire school develops a culture that focuses on learning and looks for ways to increase student achievement. So that's that should be the goal of schools anyway, but you put even more emphasis on student learning over other things. Teachers, they work very closely together to share what works in their classrooms. So you have a lot more collaboration, camaraderie. Teachers are going to be working closer together. And they also work together to improve things that didn't. So they're going to be sharing a lot of their lessons. They're not going to try to hide what really works well for them from the other teachers. They don't have egos, hopefully, and they all like working together. It's also a way of tailoring professional development so that each teacher's development is individualized. We always talk about how we should individualize our instruction for our students. But then as teachers, we kind of go to a workshop and there's 100 teachers in there talking or listening to a presentation, and there's nothing individualized about that. So hopefully this would make it where it's more individualized. Some other things describing professional learning communities. Teachers utilize assessments to help guide the learning of their students. Like when I was growing up, and you see a lot of times teachers, they always give a test every Friday. They don't really get any information from the test to find out what their students are struggling with and why they might want to go back and reteach a topic or something like that. They just move on to the next thing. So you use those assessments to guide your teaching a lot more. Teachers look at the results of the formative and summative assessments to guide their teaching. So it's not just give a test, move on, forget about it. Oh well, I didn't pass. You have to go back, spend more time using that information, reteach. Teachers also, we've kind of mentioned professional development, but they have that professional development tailored to fit their needs. If they're struggling in one area, they may be struggling with classroom management, and they're great in the content area. Well, they wouldn't want to go to professional development that more for the content or assessment. They would want to find something more tailored to classroom management. So you take away some of that redundancy. A lot of times you'll go to workshops and you hear the same thing every time. It's just over and over. And a lot of times it can get boring. So you take redundancy and boredom, you replace those with learning that actually makes them better teachers. So it's more individualized and stuff that they actually need to make them better. So that's kind of the way to describe professional learning communities. Now, here's my steps to implement it. If we were going to do it here, if we were going to do it just the way I wanted to do it, this is the way I'd want to implement professional learning communities. Before school ever starts, this is the teacher work days. I would say that we need to have all grade level subject teachers meet and discuss the plans for the coming year. Like at our school, we have 2 teachers in each grade that teach each subject. Like we have 2 science teachers, 2 math teachers, 2 English teachers for the 8th grade. And those teachers need to meet during those teacher work days and discuss what they're going to do, their plans, kind of get on the same page. During this time, teachers should create a pacing guide, kind of to know when they're going to teach something and lay out the whole year. And they should also discuss the major items they would use, like what if they're going to use the textbook, websites they want to use, all kind of the big stuff they're going to need to teach their class. What kind of labs, like I'm a science teacher, so we might want to discuss the labs that we're going to do and make sure we have the materials we need for that. Also, teachers should begin to develop trust and camaraderie since they will be working so closely together. If you're a new teacher, just moved into our school, we obviously want to get to know your partner really well. And I think that's a big thing. As others, like elementary schools, you may have like 10 teachers teaching 2nd grade or 3rd grade. They would have a lot more people to work together. You'd have a bigger group. But in our school, right now, we just start out basically with 2 teachers in kind of each group. After school starts, during the first 2 weeks, each teacher should spend at least 1 period observing their partner teaching. And I think that would help because it would help build trust, it build comfort with working together. I would say you'd have to allow the teacher a few days to get routines established, and don't go in there the first day. That would be kind of insane. But wait a couple of weeks, at least within the first month, go and observe your partner kind of teaching before it gets too far on in the year. Partner teachers should have common planning periods so they can meet frequently without taking away their valuable time after school. So I think that would be help. If you have an elementary school, you'd want to have all the 2nd grade teachers have a common planning time, if possible. I know that's hard sometimes, but at our school it wouldn't be that difficult because it'd only be 2 teachers at a time having the common planning. That way they could work together, develop their plans, see what's working, talk about what's coming up. During the school year, you have these teams, PLC teams, every subject teacher per grade. At this time, would have all the grades work together. They're required to meet twice a month during their planning to discuss what they're teaching in their class. So, like in my school, me and the other science teacher, we would meet at least every other week during our planning times to kind of see what we're doing, what's coming up, how we're going to teach it, what we've taught, how it worked, how it didn't work. So use this time to develop lessons and assessments together. We should discuss what they have done recently in class and how effective it was. So obviously that probably wouldn't be the only time they taught, but that would be to make sure we might want to have a form so they have to fill that out and make sure they're following that. And then once a month, instead of always, this might be done the day we have like a faculty meeting or something. The grade level teachers, everybody in that grade that teaches a core subject would meet after school or sometimes to discuss the progress of students, talk about at-risk and failing students and how one subject may have a great idea of how to teach this student while the other subjects may be struggling. So you may get ideas not only from people that teach the same subject, but maybe the English teacher has a good idea, or the math teacher. They have different strategies to help those students. So they can spend time on these students that have grades and test scores that are slipping. It's not just always the failing or at-risk students, but you may have a straight A student usually that's got a B or a C, and you want to work on that. Now, at the end of the year, this is kind of the end of wrapping it up. After the year's over, spend time focusing on the student grades and achievement. Kind of look at if they're slipping, hopefully they were going up, get ideas of it, kind of just let you know if you're doing a good job. Discuss the strategies for the next year, kind of think of what we might want to do, what kind of professional development, what we would want to look at, what works and what needs to be improved. Spend time discussing what worked and didn't work in our professional learning communities as a faculty. So just how we might want to change our grouping or our professional learning community the next year also. So it's just kind of a time to reflect and see what worked well and what didn't, what we need to work on for the next year. And that's kind of the ideas that I have for implementing a professional learning community in my school. And I also have, of course, the research paper is already there, and that's kind of what I found out when I researched professional learning communities.